Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. There's another paid request, this time for good friend Mike, OCP Communications. And for those interested, requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, rankings, lists, topics, commentaries, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. This is for a film called The New Kids. I did need to request a PayPal Patreon, both links down below in the info box. The New Kids, here's the thing, I didn't mind the film. I know some people don't care for it because they felt that either it wasn't successful it was trying to do, that it wasn't successful. It's kind of marketed as a horror film, but it's not really a horror film. Some people may think it's a rape revenge film, but there's no rape in it, which I'm fine with. But some people are like, oh, okay, it's not quite hitting that level. I do like the finale, but the finale could have been a bit bloodier. Like, it's a finale that's violent, but it seems neutered at the same time. I did like the cast. Loughlin, who would go on to be on the TV show Full House. James Spader plays your villain. He's definitely the best part of the film. Small appearance by Tom Atkins from Halloween 3 and Night of the Creeps. Eric Stoltz has a small appearance. Eric Stoltz, of course, been in Pulp Fiction, among others. Eddie Jones, who plays the new kid's uncle. I remember him on this TV show that didn't last long called The Invisible Man. He also played Pa Kent on the Lois and Clark Superman TV show. And it's directed by Shannon Cunningham, who did the original Friday the 13th. After this would go on in 1989 to do Deep Star 6. Now, Shannon Cunningham, I never felt was a great director. I never put him on the level of Wes Craven, John Carpenter, all that jazz. I just didn't. Never did, never will. I think he is okay, competent, but there's never anything about him style-wise that made him stand out to me. He's a guy that would, if it wasn't for the success of Friday the 13th, he would have been the TV work. It's okay, it's competent, but nothing to stand out direction-wise. And I kind of felt that way here. Like if you had a John Carpenter type or someone else that directed, I think you could have gotten a little bit more tension or suspense. Or maybe if it was someone else, maybe you could have gotten a little bit more violence out of the proceedings. But I didn't mind it. Like the actors, the guy who plays I forget his name, it's a brother and sister. The guy who plays the brother, he's fine. I mean, I can see why he didn't go on to do a whole lot, but at the same time, I've seen much worse actors. And then the sister's played by Loughlin. They're army brats. Like, their dad is in the military. They're being raised on an army base. Tom Atkins is their dad. Always nice to see Tom Atkins. I wish he was in the film more, though. But he does do a couple weird stuff. Only in the 80s. Like when he first sees his son. What you doing, kid? You too busy last night whacking off? Come on, let's go. And then when he sees his daughter, come on, let's go. And like slaps his daughter ass, get this sexy ass out of here. I mean, what is this going on? Like, did the dad just slap the daughter's ass? And did he just say, hey, boy, done wanking? I mean, you're not supposed to think of anything dire about it. It's just, I just laugh because of the way times have changed, where if you try to do this in a movie nowadays, it'd be a different fucking story. Pretty much Tom Atkins and the wife that don't go head off somewhere. I do like that the kids have a party with Popeye's chicken and Tab. If you remember, I never had Tab. Tab always sounded like a bland drink. If anyone had Tab, what did Tab taste like? Was Tab just like a cola, like Coca-Cola, or was it something else? Again, if anyone's had Tab, let me know. What did Tab taste like? Just the name Tab. I want a Tab. You want something, you gotta pay for it. Sorry, Back to the Future. Tab always sounded like... it's like I don't want to drink something called Tab. But anyway, they're having their party with the Popeyes chicken, which this is a good party. Hey, anywhere Popeyes chicken, I'll be there, because to me it's the best chicken. I miss Popeyes chicken. But you find out that the parents have died in a car crash. They don't know what to do. So the uncle, played by Eddie Jones, invites them to Florida. And he owns this amusement park. This is one of the interesting things about the film is where it's set. There's not a lot of these type of films where it's set in an amusement park, where the kids are helping the uncle fix the park up, the carnival, however you want to put it. The whole finale takes place, so you have carousels and bumper cars and roller coasters utilized, and the revenge aspect. That made it at least different. That made it at least more unique. And in this new town, they meet this gated group. This gated group. That's a... No shit. That's the same thing I just said. Like, look at that slim anorexic person. Well, yeah, you just said the same thing twice. This gang of people led by James Spader. Now, I'm a big James Spader fan. I think he's an underrated actor. He's a guy I think could have been utilized more in Hollywood when he got into the 90s and like bigger projects. He was great in this film called Jack's Back. He's one of the only things that makes me be able to watch Supernova. It's a bad film, but I really like James Spader in it. So if I ever do watch it, I would only watch it for him. I was like, man, I wish you were in this type of film, but I wish it was a much better movie. But yeah, I liked him as Ultron in Age of Ultron. I really liked him. His personality, his voice. Always liked James Spader. That's why if I stop stuttering, there's a TV show he did, I think it's called Boston Legal. Part of me wants to get a season of that on DVD just to check it out, because I'm like, wow, James Spader, you got William Shatner in it too? And I like James Spader. It'd be interesting to see him on a TV show. I know he did another TV show, The Blacklist. But I don't know much about that show. I don't know if he's a villain or if he's not the star, but he's like a co-star. But like, I know Boston Legal, he's the star. I don't... Anyway. Well, it would have been cool to see him in a detective show like Millennium, or even like the X-Files, that type of show. I mean, movie-wise, the closest he got to was The Watcher, which again, I liked him in the film, but it's a bad movie, and Keanu Reeves was just kind of miscast. I'm going off. I like James Spader a lot. And yeah, he's doing a little bit of a southern accent, which some people didn't like. They thought it was a bit too over the top with his accent. But I had fun with it. James Spader with his southern. Crazy? You crazy? I'll show you crazy. And with James Spader, I buy it. So yeah, while the southern accent is a little bit thick, especially I don't remember a lot of other people having it. And I don't know if there's a lot of that in Florida, because it does take place in Florida. I mean, granted, that is the South, but that's not like they're in, I don't know, Kentucky more than in Florida. But pretty much the James Spader's group made a bet that, hey, I could pop her cherry. Of course, Lauren wants nothing to do with them. And I will say the middle portion is not the most exciting. It's kind of just, okay, this guy tries to pick her up. She says no. He spits on her computer. Because it's trying to be a slow burn. a build up to what happens in the third act, where they keep poking and poking. They scratch the kid's uncle's car. They spray paint stuff like bitch at this barn that they're staying at. And then you see this ratcheting up where, which I will admit at this point, it seemed a bit fucking extreme. Granted, they were being assholes, and they teed the car, and they spray painted bullshit. But the lead guy sneaks into James Spader's room while he's in his underwear, ties him up, and puts a knife to his throat. And even I'm like, well, they're assholes, but this is a bit extreme. Like, tie him up, and like, how do you think this is going to end well? I guess, he gets the money to pay off for the car, but I don't know how he thinks doing this is going to make things better. It's more like pouring gasoline on a fire. Which it does, because it leads to, dead pets. Eric Stoltz, he's a good guy that they meet. He's not in the film too much. The lead kid, at least he's willing to do something. Like, he's willing to stand up for his sister, and at one point he, fights 3 of the people in the gang. He's like, anyone else want to fuck with me? Anyone else want to fuck with my sister? At least he's doing something. At least he's not standing with a thumb up his ass. So it's a slow build-up, but again, when you look at the film, the way it's been billed as this horror film or exploitation film, I think for a lot of people they're going to be a bit disappointed, because with the way it's built up, and then Shannon Cunningham's name being a part of it, for a good chunk of it, you're not really getting what the film's kind of advertising. And, there's a couple other stuff. Like, Sean S. Cunningham, will you stop killing animals? Like, you killed a snake in Friday the 13th, because there was a real snake that was killed. Here, it looks like a real fucking chicken is cut and killed. I'm like, Sean, will you stop killing animals? For fuck's sake. I don't need to see real animals killed for a fucking movie. Fuck you doing, Sean? Also, there's this one, the soundtrack and the score I wasn't really big on. The score wasn't Harry Manfredini. I was actually surprised. Because he worked with Sean before on Friday the 13th, afterward on Deep Star 6. I don't know, the score at times didn't feel like it fit the movie. Like I say, if you had a score, whether in terms of a John Carpenter type of score, or more of a sinister type of score, that would seem like, for example, there was this film that came out called Cold in July. When you listen to the soundtrack in Cold in July, if that type of soundtrack was here, that kind of helps with the building tension that's rising up until the snap, crackle, and pop of the finale, I think that would serve the film better. So I think the score a little bit disservice. And the songs, there's a song, you gotta stand up, ba-da-da-da. I thought it was a really lame song. I did not care for the song, you gotta stand up. I thought the song sucked, honestly. I'm like, can it be a better song? So I didn't really care for that. But I like Lori Loughlin. I know nowadays she's batshit crazy. But as an actress, I thought she was cute. I thought she worked well. James Spader was a lot of fun to watch, but I'm a James Spader fan. He's definitely having fun with his role, trying to be as creepy, and there's a point where Lori Loughlin leaves a door. She goes through a door, and when it swings back, he's just standing there with his sunglasses, leaned back. He's got this blonde hair, I think even blonde eyebrows, which that was his natural color. He really stood out. And he's definitely the one actor that, and when the movie has a good villain, You know, again, the lead kid is not up to James Spader's level, which is a shame. I try to think like who could have been in this part at this time. I would only say Michael J. Fox, but he's doing Back to the Future the same year, so it couldn't be him. Although that would have been interesting, Michael J. Fox versus James Spader, that would have been pretty interesting. Or Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Hall in the lead in this would have been interesting. It would have been a change of pace from what he was doing around that time. But I think this is the time he was doing, like, some people are able to do 2 movies in 1 year. So if you're able to do 2 movies 1 year, Anthony Michael Hall would have been an interesting choice. I mean, the actor here was okay, but like I said, I could see why he didn't go on to do more. But I will say the third act was definitely made up for a bit of a slow patch in the middle. Because it takes place in an amusement park. I don't want to give all the stuff away. Maybe I will a little bit in spoilers, but it definitely gets, like I say, it's not gory like Friday the 13th, but it does, like, it gets violent in the ideas behind the deaths. Just remember James Spader, they grab Lori Loughlin, they're going to do some stuff to her, and her and the brother have to deal with this group of gang members in James Spader's group amongst this amusement park setting. The amusement park setting made it unique. I thought that was a good choice. I gotta go into spoilers. What I mean by that is, like, Lori Loughlin does like a Bill Goldberg and slams through one person through the hall of mirrors. But sadly, she doesn't do a whole lot. I kind of wish Lori Loughlin did a bit more. Because I think she hit the guy, but I don't think the guy was knocked out or dead. I think he still walked away. The brother pretty much did everything else. Where he messed up a carousel so a guy fell. He fucked up with these bumper cars, smashing into each other so one guy gets fried. He fist fights a guy that ends with a roller coaster decapitating him. And then you don't see the decapitation, which is a bummer. But on the flip side, I like the idea because that's inventive. It's not every day that you see a decap from a roller coaster. And even the fight with James Spader is a gas pump with a flamethrower, but then the brother gets in, turns it on, and James Spader's terror gets burned up. This is when people actually, you had stunt people willing to set themselves on fire. I give credit where credit's due to that because it's dangerous, and it's something you don't see anymore. But here's, a low-budget film able to do that, and it's like, ooh. He's fucked up. I mean, at least Lori Loughlin kill one or two of them. Be like a 50-50 thing. Like, Lori Loughlin doesn't get a whole lot to do. Also, the uncle, he makes his amusement park successful because he's like, bloodbath at Funland. I'm like, you don't promote it that way? Yeah, all these people died in this amusement park. Come join us. That was just strange. Because if I read that, I'd be like, fuck you, I'm not going there. I'm not going where a bunch of people fucking died. That's fucking creepy. But the uncle literally promotes a bloodbath at Funland. I'm like, what? I did like the Robert De Niro. What the fuck? That just boggled my mind. I'm like, that's really weird. And yeah, I don't see people going to a place. A bunch of people died here. Come join the carousel. Yeah, this is the same carousel someone fell to their death. These bumper cars? A guy fried there. You can still smell his burnt flesh. And on this roller coaster, don't get too close. There was a guy that got his head cut off. He was right there. Let's see, like, some of you be like, shh. Not the opposite. And then they try to do like a sequel bait ending where one of the gang members' younger brother looks on with an evil stare. I don't know why that was needed. It's not like this was ever going to get a sequel. So I do have issues with the film. You know, that little stuff at the very end, I'm like, huh? Like I said, I think the third act could have been a little bit more gory. The middle portion could have been a bit more exciting, or at least, you know, have a better song in your montage, stuff like that. Stop killing real animals, Sean S. Cunningham. The lead guy, like I said, if you had a Michael J. Fox, Anthony Michael Hall type, I think that would have made things a little bit better. But that guy still wasn't bad. I still liked the rest of the cast. Lori Loughlin was cute. James Spader was fun to watch as the villain. Idea was at least trying to do with this build-up of these little things happen and how it just gets bigger and bigger before this onslaught in the finale. At least they do explain why the kids are able to fight, because they had a military guy for a father. And at the beginning even shows them running and training a little bit. So at least they do give a type of explanation so it doesn't come so far out of left field. The whole amusement park setting didn't give it a different dynamic and setting, so it doesn't seem like the same typical like high school. If it was just a high school, I'd be like, well, I'll just go watch Class of 1984, which I do think is better than this. Or Class of 1999, or a few others. But the new kids, like I said, at the very least, if you're a James Spader fan, it's fun to watch him do his thing. And if there's girls that watches, you just see James Spader in his underwear. As a guy, you know, dads him with a sock. I'm like, this could go either one or two ways. But I went the other way. So the new kids, it'd be one of those films I probably give like, I don't know, a 3 out of 5 stars. There's a lot of improvements that could be made, but I don't think it's as bad as some people made it out to be either. Like I said, the musical score, I think could have been better. Could have fit the film better. Maybe you could have had Harry Manfredini back, or again, have more of a sinister tone to the score. Since you're doing this slow burn to this. And Shannon Cunningham, again, he's competent, but he's no Wes Craven. He's no John Carpenter. So, again, it is what it was. It was okay. It was an okay film. I think without James Spader, this probably would have gone to 2. It probably would have gone to 2 out of 5 stars if it wasn't for James Spader. But with James Spader, it goes to like 3 out of 5 stars. It's not the worst movie out there. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.